The Saskatchewan Roughriders are short favorites on Friday night when they visit the Ottawa Redblacks. The Riders are coming off back-to-back losses following an emotional win in the Labor Day Classic. Well, Ottawa have lost 7 in a row. Who will reverse the trend first, the Riders or the Redblacks?
I think I've made it pretty clear what I think of the Ottawa Redblacks right now. For that reason, I'm taking the Riders to win and cover. Yes, the Riders had a disappointing performance in the Banjo Bowl. They followed that up with another disappointing performance, but I think that they are still on track to make the playoffs. They are not going to give up trying to host a playoff game until that is mathematically no longer possible. Give me the green and white. I think they pull this one out.
I'm a little worried because last season, after the Riders lost to the Elks with Taylor Cornelius at quarterback, this time it's Trey Ford, a much different looking Elks team. They went on to limp out the season and not make the playoffs, and Cody Fajardo was calling people out and all the rest. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen with the Roughriders, and I do like them to win and cover in this game, but I'm a little hesitant about it just because of what happened last season. I do think they're in the right direction. Much different than last year. They're in the driver's seat for a playoff spot in the West Division. But last year just gives me a little bit of pause for concern.
Yeah, it's hard to buy into the Riders until you realize the alternative is buying into the Redblacks. So that is why I am taking Saskatchewan. If it was any other team, I'd probably be picking against the Riders this week. For now, you may as well slap a watermelon on my head and call me George Reed, baby. I'm taking Saskatchewan. If that is the alternative, I'm taking Saskatchewan. The Edmonton Elks have opened as 8-point home underdogs against the BC Lions this week. The Elks have lost to the BC Lions twice this season by a combined score of 49-0. That's right, 2 shutouts. Though both contests, of course, occurred before Trey Ford took over as Edmonton's starting quarterback. He's 4-2 so far in that role. Can the Elks get it done to win a third straight game at Commonwealth Stadium?
Yes, and the Elks can cover. This team is trending in the right direction. Kevin Brown, for all the hype about Trey Ford, and rightfully so, has been an absolute beast. He crossed the 1,000-yard mark against the Riders on the ground with a $175 and a wicked touchdown run in that win. And I think that's really been where the Elks have started to dominate games, is up front, running the football and playing much better on defense. So I really like the Elks in this spot to cover for sure. And I would also sprinkle on the money line because I think there's some value as well. BC is trending in the wrong direction here. I know they had a great last 2.5 minutes there at BC Place to come back against Ottawa, but for the rest of that game, they did not look great. I think if that's the case, the Elks will deliver the knockout blow. And it's unfathomable to think, Hodge, but get a third straight win at home.
I'm taking the BC Lions to win this game, though I am not taking them to cover. I think the Elks can keep this one within a touchdown. The Elks have been great at closing out games. The BC Lions, not so much, though they did, of course, have that amazing comeback just this past weekend. So I will take the BC Lions to win. They want to win this one, obviously, to keep pace with Winnipeg. A win this week while the Bombers are on a bye would give them an identical 10-4 record as their West Division rivals. And to me, that is now the best race in the CFL, the race to finish first atop the West Division. Last year, the Bombers pulled away. This year, they're falling back. I don't think the BC Lions make a mistake here. I think they go to 10 wins.
The Calgary Stampeders are short home underdogs on Saturday night when they host the Montreal Alouettes. The Owls won the first meeting between these two teams back in July and have a 6-0 record against teams that aren't BC, Winnipeg, or Toronto. Meanwhile, the Stamps have lost 4 of their last 5, but are coming off a bye week traditionally. Dave Dickenson is pretty good after that. Who you got?
Well, the Calgary Stampeders were on a bye in week 4, and they came back and got their butts whipped in Winnipeg 24-11. So with respect to Dave Dickenson, who I still think is a very good head coach and has been very good, coming off of bye weeks over the course of his long head coaching career, I am taking the Montreal Alouettes as underdogs to not only cover, but as short favorites. I'm taking them to win this game. I'm happy to eat up to a field goal on the road. Yes, the Alouettes have a losing record at 6-7, but you mentioned it, Dunk. They are 0-7 against the league's top tier teams of Winnipeg, BC, and Toronto. They're 6-0 against everybody else. They've yet to lose to a non-top tier opponent. Now, I think that spells potentially very bad news for the Alouettes because come playoffs, they're of course going to be competing against the best teams in the CFL. But so far, at least, they've shown that they can take care of business when they're playing a middling or struggling opponent. I think at best you could argue the Calgary Stampeders are middling right now. I think at worst you can argue that they're just flat out struggling. So I will take the Alouettes to win this one. They almost got it done against Toronto. I think they can get it done in Calgary.
That's a major reason for me why I like Montreal in this game to win, because of avenging that loss to the Argos. And yes, it's not the same team, but they know they were so close to getting it done. They're going to be laser focused in continuing to try to lock in that second spot in the East Division to get a home playoff game. It looks like that'll probably come against the Hamilton Tiger Cats if all things are being equal to end the season. So I really like the value with the Alouettes here, although I would really like to hear the honest reason why Jason Moss has decided to keep William Stanback out of the lineup and not utilize him. I think there is something bubbling between the surface there, or under the surface, I should say. I really like Montreal in this spot, revenge-minded after losing to the Argos in a game that they are feeling like they should have won.
I saw William Stanback after that game. Looked healthy to me, but that's just what I'm saying. The Toronto Argonauts are 10-point home favorites against the Hamilton Tiger Cats this week in what will be the fourth and final meeting between the teams this season. Toronto has swept the season series thus far and are 11-0 this year when Chad Kelly starts and finishes a game. Hamilton, who were largely written off even just the recent few weeks ago, have suddenly won 3 of their last 4, including victories over BC and Winnipeg. Can they finally take down the Argos this week?
The only way I see them doing it is because the Argos have first place clinched. But I still don't think that Toronto wants to see their rivals in Hamilton get a win over them for any reason. We'll see when the lineups come out here if this changes the line at all, and perhaps if the Argos approach has shifted to rest some of their guys here early in this stretch and maybe play them late to have them ready and ideally sharp for the playoffs. So I'm going to hold here until we see the lineups, but I think you probably take the Tiger Cats against the spread. And then as for who's going to win, I want to see exactly who's going to play first. If it's a full Argos roster, then I'll go with Toronto. But if they're going to start resting some key guys, then I'll take Hamilton.
Yeah, I'm smashing Steeltown against the spread here. I think 10 points is too much. And as much as I'm very impressed with the Argos, I talked to a number of their players after their win in Montreal, and those guys did not seem to care, honestly, that they'd booked the East final. Yeah, they were celebrating, but I think they celebrate all of their victories. They are laser focused. They like it really, they didn't say this. This is my speculation of what I witnessed, my assessment of what I saw. But to me, they really seem Grey Cup or bust. They genuinely don't seem to care about how many games they have left. They're coming out with fire to win every single week. That being said, I do think that there is such thing as emotional letdowns. We saw the Bombers have one in Hamilton, I think at least a little bit in that game. So for that reason, I will take the Argos to win, but I, like you, Dunk, want to see the depth charts. But I do think that Hamilton plus 10 is a really good buy.